And we're live again. That was a quick turnaround, and I have no idea whether anyone is already live. So if you've done the quick flick from one YouTube stream to the other, please say hello in the chat or in the Facebook stream. Say hello in your Facebook account so that I know I'm not just talking to myself. Just a quick hi would be lovely, because the point of this Church Coffee Online is really to connect together, to say hello, to encourage one another just by being together and chatting. And also to reflect on the service, to say what we found helpful, what we enjoyed, what we found difficult, and the questions it's raised. If this is your first time joining us on Church Coffee Online, you are very welcome. I hope you'll find this helpful, just to stew a little bit in what we've heard and thought about, and have a bit of fun as well. And so, yes, there are quick highs already, which is fantastic. John and Beverly, you are usually extremely quick in doing the turnaround. It's great to have you with us, that you're joining in the chat. And also Julie, a quick hi. You've probably just said hi before you've gone off to make yourself a nice cup of tea. And I will welcome everyone again in a minute as they're getting ready. I'm still on bread and water, but Edda's just nipped into the kitchen and she is making a nice cuppa for us as well. Good morning, Clive and Caroline. Great to have you with us as well. And so if you're already watching, let me explain to you what we want to talk about. It's really the image of the mountain climb has been quite prominent in our service. And thank you so much for all of those who've shown us a photo of one of their mountain climbs. Absolutely fascinating. And we didn't have time to show them to you longer this Sunday. We'll do that next Sunday. But it would be really fun in Church Coffee now if you want to share any mountain climbing experience. It could also be a really challenging one. It could be a funny one. It could be a serious one. It could be a metaphorical mountain climb or mountaintop experience. Please do that. It would be good to talk a little bit about that. And then a little bit later in our session today, I want to talk a bit more about setting the scene for the Sermon on the Mount, because one of the Bible book clubs asked me a question about how should we read it and how shouldn't we read it. And I said a few things about it, but I'll just try to dig a little bit deeper in the second half of Church Coffee today. And then, of course, anything you'd like to say about this service, the good, the bad, the ugly, things you find helpful, questions it's raised, please do that in the chat, wherever you are, whether you are on Facebook or whether you are on YouTube. Well, let's do some more hellos. Kim is here. Great to see you again. Kim, you need to explain to us in the hellos in the main service, you used the word, and I wasn't sure, is that a place name or was that the Arabic for something like good morning or hello? We'd love to know. Do tell us. John is still here. Morning, John. Great to have you with us. Edda is with us again.
I am here. I'm with a biscuit. I feel like I need that today.
Sustenance. Maybe we had a sugar low. Maybe that's why we were a bit silly.
Oh, dear. Anyway, it's good to see you all, or to read who is here. Just catching up. And hello, Namdi. From all the Madukas, that's wonderful.
And Namdi, it was so encouraging, and I shouldn't say this to Namdi because all the Madukas are here. Those of you who weren't at the 9:30 service, we had a cracking young sound team today at the back of church, because Kelechi and Amarachi took care of the sound in church this morning. Yay! That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you to both of you. That was great. And we need more of the young people to do these things, because you guys, you just have soaked up technology with your mother's milk, haven't you? It's not a problem at all for you. You learn it so quickly.
And hello to Michelle. Good morning. Having coffee in the car on our way to Basingstoke for the revealing of the sex of our grandchild.
Hey, that's exciting. Well, I think our church coffee won't go long enough that you can post online here what it is. But what an exciting journey you're on. And thank you for telling us as you're heading off. Have a lovely day. Have a good time. Caroline was in church this morning. Thank you for your feedback. And again, this church is about everyone bringing something and serving each other. And so Caroline was part of our little choir this
That
morning,
was lovely, yes.
who were leading us in worship there. Really, really lovely.
Wonderful to have Alex and James with us at coffee. Hope you're enjoying a nice cuppa too.
I'm doing something that is probably verboten. So here's a question for the chat. Quick chat. We should have done a poll. Do you dunk your biscuits in your tea or coffee, or don't you? Answers in the chat.
Hello to Samuel. Great to have you with us this morning. Hello, Faye. I'm really in awe of everyone who manages this technology. So, Kim, thank you. Sabah El Keir.
Keir.
Good morning. Actually, literally, morning of the good.
So Sabah, I guess, is morning, and of the good is El Keir. Brilliant. Fascinating. We've learned something else. We know how to say good morning in Arabic. Isn't that fantastic? Sabah El Keir, or however you pronounce it. Sadly, unless you come on to the chat, we don't know. But you'll tell us eventually. And just to go back to Samuel, it was fascinating to have a little fight going on here for where it is warmest this morning.
Yes.
I think, Samuel, you're still out front with 33. Although I think someone put a good fight up with 31 degree. That was
Singapore, I think.
Singapore follows with 31. So the question is, Kim, how warm is it this morning where you are? We would love to know. Oh, lost my place.
Thank you, Janet. Good morning to you. Glad you enjoyed the service.
Janet, good morning from Ruislip.
Hooray.
Lovely to have you with us. And Amanda's the first one to come out of hiding on this essential question of whether you dunk your biscuits in your tea or not. Now, Amanda, I think you had a very decent upbringing, You learned what is done and what is not done. So I'm really glad that your answer is... But it's a draw, I think, so far, so keep them coming. So it's a draw because Julie says, nah, not from me. So it's a 1-1.
Well, my contribution is it depends on the biscuit.
Now that's a cop-out,
It's
isn't
not.
it?
Some are some lend itself for dunking, and some are just not good to be dunked.
Fair enough. If you want to sit on the fence, that's fine.
I'm not sitting on the fence.
But I'm going to do a little tot-up of whether the dunking or no dunking faction wins this morning. Just
Okay.
Just because it's interesting.
Yeah.
Here is our first mountain story.
We went by coach, Sheila writes, we went by coach up the mountains, the Himalayas. There was I seated at the window, deep vertical drop views. Oh, Mummy and my sister laughed hysterically at my screaming and lying on Mummy's lap.
Gosh,
Wow.
that sounds scary, doesn't it? Question is, Sheila, whether it has scarred you for life or whether you got over it and managed to enjoy the mountains later in life. So tell us. Okay, the dunking competition carries on.
John
It's a yes from John.
dunking.
Janet is a yes as well, although...
Yes. Guilty pleasure. And it gets too sunny.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
It's terrible when you get to the dregs of your coffee or tea. And you have this residue of various biscuits at the bottom. And Alex is very kind. She just volunteers what James does. Well, the dunkers are winning, people. Oh, well. Nose
from Louise.
Nose are catching up. Nose are catching up. Oops. Okay. Here's another challenge for you, Edda. Come on. Let's.
Oh, let's test Edda's Italian. Buona Domenica is have a good Sunday, right? Domenica?
I think that sounds right.
Yeah. Buono. Buono.
Buona.
Buona.
Buona domenica.
Buona domenica.
Thank you for another little language lesson. We are being taught the
I hope
most.
you're all joining in.
Okay, everyone now. Buona domenica.
Oh.
And Caroline is with you,
See,
Edda.
Caroline, dunking depends on the biscuit. Tim Jams.
Clive is a dunker. Thank you, Clive, for coming out. Try a Tim Tam bites both end, duck and suck. Now this is good.
I'm
isn't it?
confused. A Tim Tam. I don't understand what
Tim
you're talking.
Tam. Tim Tam.
Is that a Tim Tam?
Both
Or
ends.
is it a type
duck.
of biscuit?
I don't know. What is Tim Tam? Help us. What is Tim Tam? But anyway, both ends, duck, dunk, and suck. Not duck and suck. Bliss. Okay, now Kim wants to win the temperature competition, but she's not quite there yet. As of this morning,
okay.
Samuel, you have
It's
won
tight.
the race.
It's a tight race.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Amanda, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Because, as I said, you had a decent upbringing. So you were spoiled in Italy.
Oh dear.
Oh, these Italians.
Well, they're well known for their excellent food.
Great to have you with us again, Ian.
Yes.
Thank you for leading us this morning in the service at 9:30. And Kathy, another fence sitter who just...
See, it depends. It's not a fence
It
sitter.
depends.
A fence sitting is not nice to say. We're just differentiated. How about that?
Now, I'm getting worried about the Italians now, I must say. Because it sounds like Alex also was brought up proper and was spoiled by the Italians. I must have Italian blood. All of us who are dunking. Faye, well done for holding up good standards. You like your biscuit crunchy. I love it. That is good. And in case you're thinking we're carrying on with this dunking thing, we will. But I will give another perspective on the Beatitudes in a few minutes. Don't you worry. Or anything else you want to talk about in terms of this service. Here is another mountaintop experience.
Oh, wow. Riding in a minibus up to Machu Picchu
Is that Machu Picchu? Or however
Probably.
you say that one.
in Peru.
I think this one... Patty might have to help us how to say that one. Machu Picchu, maybe?
Machu Picchu.
Oh, Chris.
No dunking.
You're hurting my
Disgusting.
feelings. You're hurting my feelings, Chris. Okay. Well, maybe I need to better myself after this clear telling off. Well, Sheila carries the story on about her mountaintop experience. It scared you forever. You can't even stand at the edge of a first floor balcony. Vertigo and me don't go together. It sounds like no mountain holiday for you, but there's lots of other good options. Now, it's good to hear from Samuel what you're being up to. So thank you for telling us.
I'm in Benin to check Amos, Haggai, and Malachi, and Obadiah, probably.
Oh, probably.
I will have to lead an Hebrew course which translates
With translators.
translators of the Old Testament of SIL from May the 3rd.
Well, we hope that goes really well. SIL is a sort of sister organization of Wycliffe Bible translators, who Samuel is linked with. I think it was originally called the Summer Institute of Linguistics, and it really started a worldwide move of trying to get as many local languages to be translating the Bible into those local languages. And they've done a fantastic job over the last decades. And so the second part is you had to abort the checking session with another translation, the Etulo translation. So, yeah, we keep praying for you and all the progress you're making. It sounds like you're spinning quite a few plates at the moment, trying to keep them all in the air. And, yeah, thank you, Kathy, for redressing the balance. Thank you. The dunkers are still in the lead, my friends. Six dunkers
non-dunkers
and
or
4 non-dunkers. Brilliant. Well, John, good to hear that. Anne is also with us. Good morning, Anne. Lovely to have you with us this way. And now Janet is going to give us the bottom line. This is the bottom line, people.
My mum told us it was common to dunk biscuits, so we didn't.
Janet, you're a grown-up woman now. Maybe you want to get really brave and try dunking. Tell us what it's like when you've done it.
Oh, that's funny.
And yeah, so this is the Machu Picchu that we were referring to. And I can imagine.
Wow.
It sounds like an amazing mountain to get up to, whichever way, in a minibus or whatever. I think it's very high, isn't it? So I'm not sure I would dare going up just walking, climbing, because the air probably gets a bit thinner up there, I would imagine. Sheila, thank you for telling us about your private habits. I count this. I count this as a yes. I definitely count this as
Sheila.
a yes. Thank you. This is good. And then Joan tells us another mountain story.
I went up Table Mountain, Cape Town, in a cable car many years ago.
And Nick, thank you for finally telling us about a mountain that we can pronounce. You went up the Eiger in Switzerland. Wow.
That is a big achievement.
I've never been on it.
I've seen it.
Yes. Claim to fame.
Quite in the distance.
Yes, we're on the theme of Bible translations. And Amanda says she's just started to read Melvin Bragg's book about the impact of the King James Version. Personally, I haven't read it, but Melvin Bragg also made a really good a radio program about 10 years ago when the King James Version celebrated its 400th year, 1611 to 2011. And that was really fascinating as well. So he's, as you know, an eminent historian. And it's really interesting when he talks about the impact it has made. So definitely, I hope, worth reading. Thank you, Joan. And we'll finish this dunking story. So if you want to get your vote in, you need to get it in quick. And I'll tell you the tally.
Come on, those who are not
end.
dunking or who are only occasionally dunking.
John tells us about Gemma and the Tim Tams. So there you go. It's an Australian biscuit.
In several flavors. I think they are superior to a penguin.
That's Beverly says.
Okay, yeah.
Fantastic. So, Beverly, when you next get
Tim
a
Tams.
special delivery of Tim Tams from Australia, share one with us so we know the joy of dunking Tim Tams both ends.
Today's service, Sheila is saying, spoke directly to me always. Thought I had God in my life, but since I lost my human shepherd, oh, how he has turned that spark into huge flaming divine fire.
Thank you,
Bring
Sheila.
me out of, I can't read the last one,
Yeah. And we all need that shepherd in our lives. The shepherd that's always there, that's consistent, that always walks ahead of us on this mountain climb. So thank you for sharing that with us. Well, in a minute, I'm going to talk a little bit more about setting the scene for the Beatitudes.
But before that, we have one more vote for the...
Sitting on the fence.
James agrees with me that it depends on the biscuit. So there should be a third category, really.
And by the way, I agree with John when it comes to drinking tea from the saucer. Just so you don't think I'm completely uncivilized. Yeah, and you know, this is a serious mountain climb, Machu Picchu. This sounds really quite scary, doesn't it? Yeah, when you get to these heights. If you have a lung condition, not a good idea. Really not a good idea. But how amazing it must be if you get to that. And right. Thank you, Janet. My suggestion wasn't really very good, was it? You have tried it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Okay, Michelle, thank you for trying to redress the balance on the dunking. And this is the end of the dunking stories. And Caroline, it sounds like you went up to the top and you had altitude sickness. And the local remedy is coca tea. There you go. And Louise is sharing that Philip remembers going up Masada. Wow. Now, Masada is
In
the
Israel,
mountain
isn't it?
fort in the Negev desert, where when some Israelites were rebelling against the occupying force, that was their last stand. They retreated to the Masada desert, desert castle, desert fort there. Amazing, amazing story. Well, we really loved your mountain climbing pictures. As I say, it's not too late to add some more until next Sunday. And then it would be lovely to actually share some of them, where they are and what your experience of climbing these mountains was. But just for 5 minutes or so, I will read a little excerpt of a video that Chris McQueen's Bible Book Club sent to me over the course of this week. And they were wondering how to read the Beatitudes. And this is what he says. They started looking at the Beatitudes. And one question we did have was how to interpret the Beatitudes more generally. Is Jesus saying, one, to be blessed, you need to be poor, recognize your poverty in spirit, mourning, be meek, hungering for righteousness, etc.? To be blessed, you need to be like this? Or is he saying, two, the kingdom and all its riches are available to those who are spiritually poor? And in other words, this is especially the kind of people that the kingdom is available to. And I think to a degree, I've tried to answer that in today's talk. I really think it is the latter, but it's not that black and white. So let me just give you a bit of a summary of how I believe we can and we should read the Beatitudes. So firstly, you shouldn't read the Beatitudes as a statement of what life is like. That's just not the case, is it? Because quite frankly, the meek often don't inherit the earth. We don't live in a world where these values of God's kingdom can already be fully seen. It is countercultural. That's the first thing. And the second thing, which I briefly mentioned, was this is not just a pie in the sky as we die. Well, you know, when we die, it's not possible in this world, in this life. But you know, one day, after we rise to new life, then these things will be possible. You can't read it like that either, because there are sentences like, blessed are those who are persecuted. Blessed are those who mourn. Well, in God's wonderful new creation, there will be no mourning. There will be no persecution. And thirdly, it isn't an entrance exam, as I said earlier. And that's to your question, Chris, and to your group. It's not like, well, if you want to be part of the kingdom, you first have to jump through all these hoops. Because otherwise, it would be difficult to be part of God's kingdom, wouldn't it? And that's what theologians call salvation by works. That you try to get good enough so that God will welcome and accept you. And a lot of religion can be that. Even some forms of Christian religion, if we're not careful. You need to jump through all these hoops because otherwise God is not pleased with you. And at the end of your life, God will tot up your points. And if you're lucky, you're going to make the grade. But of course, the center of the Christian gospel is that Jesus died for us so that we can live with him. And in one of the letters in the New Testament, it says, this is how we see how God's love, how great God's love is, that Christ died for us while we were still sinners. We don't have to bring some offering to God first. He welcomes us into his kingdom on his conditions, and his condition is grace. So yes, we read the Beatitudes not as an entrance exam, but as an invitation. So I'm definitely in that camp. Dallas Willard has written a book in which he reflects on this. And he tells the story of a mother who had a son who was 17, 18 at that time. He'd grown up in the Christian church, but one day he said to his mum, on the back of hearing the Beatitudes, I'm sorry, Mum, I can't be a Christian anymore because that's not me. And I'm not even sure I can rise to these standards. And Then he says, so I guess this is not for me. I think that's terribly sad, isn't it? In John 6, which we referenced earlier in our service, Peter says to Jesus, to whom else should we go, Jesus? You have the words of life. This is about Jesus and his grace and love that he brings into our lives. And so we're welcomed without condition. However, what I would also say is, the message of the Beatitudes is not only the kingdom is available for everyone, and especially those who sense they are poor in spirit, especially for those who are mourning. That is true. But it is also a challenge. The kingdom is available to those who hear and heed Jesus' call to follow him, in all weakness, in all failure. It's about those who say, yes, Jesus, I'm willing to go on this mountain trip with you as my guide, to stay close, to stumble and fall and let you help me up and carry on walking. But I'm thinking about the rich young ruler. You all know the story. And Jesus says to him, one thing is missing. He thinks he's jumped through all the hoops. But Jesus looks at his heart and he sees that his heart is somewhere else. And he says, well, if you want to have the kingdom of God, why don't you sign up for this mountain expedition? Why don't you sell what you have and then follow me? And it says he couldn't do it and he walked away sad. So it's about hearing and heeding Jesus' call to following him. And there are challenges in this. It's not just that everyone is invited, which is true, but also we're challenged to live a completely different life. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the peacemakers. That's tough. And so the Beatitudes are not about what theologians call cheap grace. Oh, you're all right, don't worry. Jesus will welcome you whatever you do. They're about being welcomed with open arms, joining that mountain expedition of Jesus, staying close, and trying to emulate this mountain guide as best we can. It will be an arduous climb, but it will be glorious in the company of Jesus. We will be blessed. That's how I understand these blessings. As we go on this mountain tour with him, we will be blessed. It will be glorious. We will fail, we'll be forgiven, we'll carry on climbing after him. Only Jesus and his grace get us into the kingdom, and only the power of his Spirit transforming us will get us nearer this description of the kingdom. So I hope this is helpful just a little bit to set the scene a bit more. And for us, as we read it over the next weeks, verse by verse, to keep it in mind. Everyone's welcome. And then we are welcomed to hear and heed the call of Jesus, to go with him on this mountain trip. And it will be glorious. Well, thank you so much. It's been good fun today.
It has been.
Sorry that we nearly or basically cracked up towards the end.
We did crack up. Well, yes, we did. It's that Easter quiz.
It's all this Easter joy. But it is real Easter joy to be connected. Be connected on site at St. Mary's, to be connected online here, and also to mix up the two groups in our online coffee. That's absolutely wonderful.
And to feed on God's word.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that at the moment.
Yes. So stay close to Jesus, your mountain guide. Feed on his word. Pray. I've had some tough moments over the last 2 weeks where I felt quite low and quite fragile. And then to lean in, to say, Jesus, you're still my mountain guide. I'm still going behind you. I know you will get me there. Help me. It is so essential every day, but especially in this current season. And we do this on our own, and we do this together. Brilliant.
Great. So are there any more news, any things you like to mention on the back of what Christoph just reflected on? We keep a few moments just to see in case there is any kind of things you want to mention, and otherwise we'll wave goodbye. And
not without first giving the final tally of the dunking or no dunking informal poll.
we're basically a bunch of commoners.
It's very rude to the 5 people who said no.
Well, I'm on the fence.
You are. So, you can probably see this. This is the result. Dunking, yes, 8, no, 5. Ladies and gentlemen.
And there is a group in the middle.
The Dunkers.
Embracing both sides.
She's wrecked my life sentence. She's really wrecked my life sentence. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dunkers have it.
Wow. Anyway.
Just a few last comments. Thank you so much for this feedback. And so, yeah, let's keep this image in mind as we keep climbing together. And I found it helpful. I haven't come up with it, but I've found it helpful. Yeah, and we look forward to the journey with you, Nick and Michelle. And we'll leave the Dunkers to one side. And yes, we do indeed look forward to coffee in real time in on-site meetings.
On-site.
This is real life, but it's separated from each other. Real life, isn't it? And only a screen. But we can actually share the dunking and the slurping in the same room.
Well, this might be safer to have that online.
Yes, indeed. So lovely to see you all. Have a wonderful week. God is with us. He's our shepherd.
He is.
Take care.
Bye-bye.